You know that moment when you're on your horse and suddenly it spooks at something, your body reacts, but you feel like your brain has just caught up? That's exactly what happened to me, but this time I wasn't on a horse. I was actually running up the Big Buddha mountain here in Phuket. The heat was insane. The humidity, I was sweating. I had sweat dripping so much from my face that it was going into my mouth, from my nose dripping down all the way onto my body. My legs felt so heavy, like they were just shaking, and every step felt hard. I had this voice in my head saying, just stop, just stop. And then the other part of me that was saying, do not stop, you've got to keep going. I wasn't training for a medal, and I'm not training for a competition at the moment. It's for something much more important. It's the kind of strength that shows up when your horse needs you, when everything seems like chaos, but you can remain calm, focused, and ready. So why am I doing this? On the 16th of May, I'm doing a charity challenge, running up this mountain called the Big Buddha, which is about 4.2 kilometers. Not a far, but it is an inclination of about 12%. It is extremely, extremely tough. Not only am I going to run this mountain, but I'm going to do it under 30 minutes. Now, to give you an example, the people that do this under 30 minutes are the people that are training for like boxing, Muay Thai fights. They are super fit, and without being gender bias here, they're all men. There's very limited, if only a handful of women that have done it under sub 30 minutes. And then, just to top it off, when I get to the top, I'm gonna drop and do, not drop from complete exhaustion, which could happen, I'm gonna drop and do 100 burpees. 100. Why am I doing this? I am doing this for a dog charity because I want to give back to all the street dogs and all the wonderful sanctuaries and volunteers that help make these street dogs' lives that little bit better. So what's the bigger picture in this? Why am I doing it? You might think, okay, do the challenge and then what? This is for something so much more. For starters, and the foremost thing, is because I want to give back to the animals. I want to raise awareness for the stray dogs in Phuket, but I also want to give back to the people that are already living here and giving so much of their time and effort to helping these dogs. The bigger picture though is also because I want to improve my mind for the saddle. This is not just about training the body, this is for training the mind. Running for me is not something that I enjoy, I find easy. Why? Many years ago when I was training to be a flat jockey, we would run, we would be pushed so hard, we were pushed to the max effort. I was pushed so much because I was so competitive and so stubborn and so determined that I would end up being sick mostly every night. Now, that has kind of held me back for many years, and I'm in my late 30s. Doing something like a running challenge for me is definitely mental, because the minute I can feel that sensation of, oh my gosh, why do this? I don't want to do this. Every part of my body goes, this is sore, this is sore, this is sore. And to top it all off, I feel like I'm going to be sick. Now, I have run this mountain once because 3 weeks ago I came to Thailand for a retreat. Now, for those of you that haven't seen this, I've done a video on this already, that this retreat was not the kind of retreat where you come, you yoga, do some meditation, and you just totally relax. This was a complete opposite. It was a physical retreat. There was some Muay Thai training, there was a run, there was a few other things that happened, but unfortunately, we all got sick. So spoiler alert, if you've not seen that, go and watch the full vlog video on that retreat. It is not what I expected, but as everything happens in life, it might not be what you want at the time, but the lessons from it is definitely what I needed in the end. So, the first time and the only time I've run up this mountain, I don't know about you, but I'm someone, if I didn't know the destination, as in the end point, I'm okay. Like, I'll pace myself, but I will keep going. Many people who did the run with me were like, now that they know where the end point is, they'll be able to push and get like better PBs, so personal bests. Whereas for me, I ran to the top over 30 minutes and I was like, I am exhausted. And when I got to the top, of course, I was sick. So the thought of doing this under a sub 30 and then dropping to do 100 burpees, yeah, it's it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a real mental battle. The time we did run it, we ran it at like 7 a.m. We all got in this big minibus. I went to the bottom of the mountain and ran as a group. Now, obviously, a few people we filtered out in the end. And it is one of those mountains where it just never seems to stop going up. Again, I've done a full video of this because the other day I went and walked the Big Buddha and I showed you exactly point by point how steep it is. There's some massive S-bends, then there is some undulating kind of flat parts, but fundamentally you're always climbing. And the worst bit in terms of the inclination is the beginning. The beginning is probably the worst bit. And throughout this journey going up, the first time I did it, I was wearing a cap, and I just kept my cap, my head down in one position, looked at my feet and just kept going. When we got to the top, everyone that had also run it said, "Oh my God, did you see the elephants? Did you see the birds? Did you see the amazing view of the ocean?" I was like, I saw nothing, nada. I was just focused on one foot getting in front of the other. So this just explains a little bit about where I was at in my state compared to other people. And this is, again, by the way, a reflection when it comes to our riding, because especially when we're in a test competition, let's take a dressage test, for example, how many of you are just focused on getting the movement right? So especially in a high level performance where you have to memorize the test, are you just thinking of the next movement coming up and having to focus on the current movement to get the execution on point? Or are you someone that's thinking about not only the horse, yourself, other people around you? Are you aware of maybe there's a dog barking, maybe there's a behavioral horse in the warm-up arena? What exactly is going on in your mind? This is very similar when it comes to mental resilience and toughness for being an elite competition rider. It's having that extreme focus to narrow in on one thing and one thing alone and block out the noise around you. Because fundamentally, as elite athletes, not only do we have to focus on ourselves, our own focus, our own energy, our own resilience and strength, but we also have to be compassionate and be the partner to lead our horse to trust us into the competition environment. Lessons for my elite equestrian women who want to transform their performance. Number one, you don't rise to the level of your competition, you fall to the level of your preparation. How many have heard this saying? You probably have. How many of you actually execute on this? And this is another example in how it links to this Big Buddha Run for charity. This is not something I would do once a week, once a month, or even once a year. This is a mental toughness exercise, selfishly for me to overcome, that I know will give me the mental grit and determination for the next competition or for the next high level event that I want to do. And spoiler alert, for me personally, that is speaking on stage and sharing more of my wisdom, my knowledge, and giving back to the equestrian elite athletes out there that are struggling with things like mental grit, energy levels, fat loss, strength in the saddle, and emotional regulation. Number two is nervous system resilience. So it is not about having a six-pack abs as a rider. Far from it. How you train determines your reaction in the saddle. And this is why doing these competitions or these trainings or these events are so important, not only with you and your horse, but actually away from your horse. Because if you can prove to yourself, and that is all that matters at the end of the day, is proving to you yourself, number one, that you can do this, that you can overcome any challenge. When it then comes to you and your horse in the environment of high stress with people around you, other competitors, the judges, the music, the environment, you can remain in complete calm, in complete focus. Number three, strength isn't built in the gym, it's revealed under extreme pressure. So even simple, consistent training matters more than perfection. I often get told that, Sneaker, I haven't got time to go to the gym, I only have time for my horse. Okay, let's reverse engineer this. If you are showing up every day for your horse and only managing to give 50% because you are exhausted, because you're suffering with energy crashes, and because you are struggling with yourself, never mind with you and your horse, how can you expect your horse to show up and perform in any situation if you're only there at 50%? That doesn't match. We have to take responsibility as riders, horse trainers, as it comes down to us. We have to show up in the best version of ourselves with the strength, physically, with the mental resilience and the nervous system regulation to control our emotions under pressure. So how am I now going to run a sub 30 Big Buddha and then do 100 burpees at the top? You could say, well, why don't you just start running? And exactly what I should be doing. What I have done is I've gone for a coach that knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to running so that they can help me. When you want to achieve something, your goal, your riding goal, and you're going into it blinded, not only are you wasting your precious time guessing, but you could do what is the worst thing that can possibly happen, is an injury. An injury which then delays our success and delays our performance. So my recommendation is get a coach, and that's exactly what I've done. I'm working with a running coach who has introduced me to zone training. Now this is someone, myself, who doesn't wear a Fitbit, who doesn't track how many steps she's taking or walking every day. So I've got my partner's Fitbit, and what I'm doing is zone training. So zone 1, 2, 3, and 4. So at the moment I've done 3 runs in the last week, which is pretty impressive for me. And interesting, the first run, I just had to stick to a specific heart beats per minute for a certain time. And the first time I did it, the next day I was so uncomfortably sore. My knees were sore, like the outside of my knees at the base was really sore. And I did some reflection on this and thought, okay, why is this happening? Then I applied my animal chiropractic brain, looking at the biomechanics. This is what I do most of the time when I'm looking at horses, when I'm looking at dogs, watching them move. I was like, do you know what? I am getting concussive force loading down the outside of my knees, so the bottom of my knees on both sides. I must be landing on the outside. Then I slowed down my running on the second time and focused not only on my heart rate, but tuned into what my body was saying and what I was feeling, and so be it. I noticed I was running on the outside. So if I was a horse, it would be lateral medial foot placement. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I went back to the running coach and said, this is what I'm noticing. And he was like, this is great awareness. Right, for the third run, which I did this morning, I had to do a 5-minute warm-up at 115 to 130 beats per minute. Then for 40 minutes, I'm saying this with a smile on my face because the thought of running 40 minutes is just something not enjoyable. But I did it, and for the 40 minutes, I had to hit 130 to 145 beats per minute at that steady pace. And a real bonus tip that he shared with me, because I was noticing not only was I having stiffness in my hips and in my knees, that I was probably exerting more energy than I needed to. So we downloaded in Spotify this thing called a metronome running beat, which honestly just sounds like a clock ticking really fast. It's like tick, 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 tick. The aim is every time you hear a tick, your foot must be landing on the floor. That's quite a fast movement with your feet action, but what it does is, because I don't have to hit a high heart rate, I take smaller steps and less range of motion. So basically, as my foot hits the ground, instead of taking big action down, I'm taking really small steps and actually conserving energy. And what happens is my foot isn't on the ground for very long, which means my concussive force going down onto the floor isn't very long either. And overall, on this third run this morning, despite not having the motivation and the willpower to go and do it, I did it anyway, because I was actually saving energy. I didn't feel pain. So this is the difference between going on your own and guessing and getting an expert in the goal that you want to achieve to save you time and to save you money. Now, I'm not training to look a certain way. I'm training to lead myself and my horse through chaos. And that comes by me taking responsibility and putting myself through the chaos, because as I said earlier, you fall to the level of your preparation. And this is what happens under high pressure environments. So by me doing this uncomfortable challenge, both physically and mentally, in only a few weeks' time, what I am doing is putting myself through pressure, and by overcoming it, I will prove to myself that I am more resilient. And this shows up when I'm working with my horse. When I'm working with my horse and there are those moments, as I said in the beginning, when they spook, instead of panicking and reacting, I can go with my horse but also lead them back to the state of calm. Now, if this hit home for you, drop me a comment below and remember to subscribe and let me know something physical or mentally challenging that you're doing this year in 2025.